Let's talk about one of the biggest stories of the internet, Google. How did a simple search box, created by two grad students, completely take over the early web and build an absolute empire? Well, it all comes down to two honestly brilliant innovations that solved the biggest headaches of the early internet. Okay, for anyone who was online in the 90s, this question probably brings back some vivid memories, right? You remember the screech of that dial-up modem? The agonizing wait for a single page to load? Just trying to find anything in that digital chaos. That whole frustrating experience is the key to understanding why Google's arrival felt like actual magic.
You see, before Google, the web was kind of a digital Wild West. Yeah, we had search engines like AltaVista and Yahoo, but finding anything useful was a real chore. The whole system just felt slow, messy, and frankly, super easy to manipulate.
And this quote just nails it, right? You didn't just search for something. No, you went on an expedition, clicking through page after page after page of totally irrelevant links, just hoping you'd stumble on what you needed. It was a test of patience, and let's be honest, most of the time, we failed.
So here's why it was so bad. Early search engines just ranked pages based on how many times a word appeared. This led to something called keyword stuffing, where sneaky websites would just hide hundreds of keywords, sometimes in white text on a white background, just to trick the system. And on top of that, the homepages were these cluttered portals that took forever to load on dial-up. The result? A slow, messy, and just deeply unsatisfying experience.
So, into this mess come two Stanford PhD students with a totally different idea. They thought, what if the web itself holds the key to organizing its own content? And that idea became their first game-changing innovation, the PageRank algorithm.
The absolute genius of PageRank is how simple the core idea is. It was actually inspired by academic research. Think about it. A scientific paper that gets cited by a ton of other important papers is seen as more credible, right? More authoritative. Well, PageRank applied that exact same logic to the web. A link from one page to another was basically a vote of confidence. And a link from an important site, say a major news outlet, was worth way more than a link from some random blog. It wasn't about what a page said about itself, it was about what the rest of the web said about it.
This is where you can really see the massive shift. We went from a system that just found pages that had your words on them to one that found pages that were considered authoritative on your topic. This didn't make the results just a little bit better. It made them 1,000,000 times more relevant. And suddenly, it was way, way harder to game the system.
This anecdote just shows you the insane real-world impact. This user talks about an academic competition where students had to race to find answers online. It used to be this grueling thing that took hours. But when Google showed up, they canceled the competition. Why? Because it became a joke. You could just type in the question, and boom, the answer was right there at the top. The entire game had changed, just like that. Now, that revolutionary algorithm, that was only half the battle. Google's second big innovation was less about complex code and more about something simpler, the user experience. And honestly, it was an almost defiant sense of style.
The amazing search results got people to try Google, for sure. But the thing that got them to stay, the thing that made it their home page, was something they felt the very second the site loaded.
You have to remember, at the time, competitors like Yahoo were trying to be portals. They were cramming news, weather, stock tickers, flashing banner ads, everything onto their homepages. Google, on the other hand, was just a white page, a logo, and a search bar. That's it. In the dial-up era, this wasn't just a design choice. It was a killer feature. It meant pure, unadulterated speed. What took other sites a minute to load, Google delivered in just a few seconds.
And get this, the design was so clean, so minimalist, that it completely broke people's expectations. Early users would literally just sit there and stare at the screen, thinking the page was broken or hadn't finished loading yet. That empty white space was Google's second secret weapon. It was fast, it was focused, and it respected your time. So you've got superior results and a lightning-fast experience. That combination created a fiercely loyal user base. And that loyalty turned into something incredibly valuable: attention. Millions and millions of people making Google their front door to the web. And it was on this massive foundation that Google built the economic engine that basically defines the internet as we know it today. So, by solving search, Google captured the world's attention. And man, did they find a way to monetize it. By 2016, their parent company Alphabet was pulling in over $90 billion a year. And get this, nearly 90% of that came from advertising tied to that simple little search box.
And to protect that dominance, they invested
A lot. The jump in R&D spending is just wild, from less than $100 million in 2004 to almost $14 billion by 2016. That's the cost of staying on top. That's what it takes to keep refining the algorithmic machine that powers the whole business.
All that spending wasn't just to make search better. It was to build a machine that constantly generates profit. This is where the business model evolves into something new, a concept some academics call algorithmic capitalism. It's basically an economic system where the algorithm itself becomes the main tool for making money. You can think of it as the factory floor of the 21st century.
So how does this whole system work? Well, it produces two main products. First, there's the audience commodity. And guess what? That's us. Our attention, our search history, our data, it all gets packaged up and sold to advertisers. The second product is the algorithmic commodity. That's the super powerful search tech itself locked down with patents to make sure Google stays way ahead of any competitors. And the entire engine is powered by two things: the paid work of Google's brilliant engineers and, just as crucial, the unpaid work of all of us. Every single search we make, every link we click, helps to make the machine smarter.
And that brings us to today. The very things that made Google win in the first place, that sense of relevance and simplicity, are now things people are starting to question. The entire system was built on our trust that Google would give us the best, most honest answer. But as ads get pushed higher and results feel, well, less organic, you have to wonder, what happens to an empire when the trust it was built on starts to fade?